damage the trust among creators, users, and advertisers. They said, by the way, let me remind y'all, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Welcome back to Wine and Chill, your home for all things legal shenanigans. I'm Stephanie, your friendly neighborhood lawyer. Well, if you're new here, not your lawyer, which brings me quickly to our disclaimer. By watching this video, you understand and acknowledge the full disclaimer down below in the description box. Today, we're going to talk about James Charles and his somewhat self-imposed legal drama. If you like to drink wine and also listen to the breakdown of lawsuits, occasional student loans, you should subscribe. Usually we cover lawsuits, and it should be noted a lawsuit has yet to be filed. Keyword yet. So here's our agenda about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a little bit of background if you are not aware of what is going on with Mr. Charles, his highlight, and allegations. Allegations. Next, we're going to talk about endorsement deals and what wind down legally means. Wind down, not wind down. And sit. Next, we're going to talk about YouTube's policies. And lastly, we're going to talk about potential lawsuits. All right, so quick 2 seconds about James Charles and this drama that he has found himself in yet again. So James Charles is a 21-year-old beauty guru, YouTuber. I think he has, I think he still has. I haven't checked it. Around 25 million subscribers, huge multi-millionaire, living his best life, which during so he was accused of having inappropriate conversations with underage young boys. Accusations and allegations is one thing. He admitted to some of this. So I'm just gonna put that out there. We're gonna get into it. So some of these conversations, he said, yes, I had, but, we'll get into that. And then some of them he's like, oh, never seen her, never heard of her. Sorry to that man. We're mostly going to focus on these potential lawsuits that he is, if you read in between the lines, kind of threatening people with. Because I find that interesting. Now that you have the background, let's move on to Morphe and the wind down that has all the drama girls in confusion. So Morphe, child, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they didn't say anything for a hot second. They finally came out with a statement on their Twitter, which stated, I'll put it right here, in light of recent allegations against James Charles, Morphe and James have agreed to end our business relationship and wind down sales of the Morphe James Charles product offering. Okay, so a lot of people, have commented on what the heck is wind down mean? So wind down is actually a legal term and a business term. Wind down means when you close a business, nobody just shuts their business down. There are great examples. Let's look to sports. So in sports, particularly in the NFL, when every quarter when we find out that somebody is actually an abuser, an undesirable human being, and the NFL drops them, they don't just pull their jerseys from the NFL store. They sell them because, corporations love money. That's why they're in business. So instead of just pulling things, they sell them, often at a cheaper price, so that way they can still recoup some of those funds. Because what happens is when you wind down a business, you have flow down business obligations. So Morphe is not sitting there just making all of these palettes, honey. Morphe is contracted with whatever vendor. They have promised the vendor that they will order X amount of James Charles Morphe palettes. They now have to break that contract. The vendor is likely going to sue them and be like, hello, you have agreed to buy 100,000 of these from me. So boo-boo, run me that check. Instead of just losing all that money, which would be the morally correct thing to do, no corporation ever does the fully morally correct thing to do. They still gonna get their money, honey. So as of today, April the 26th, it is still for sale. It will continue to likely be for sale. Doesn't look like it's on sale. And yeah, because they have to recoup their money. So most likely they're not going to continue ordering anymore from the manufacturer. So there are legal ramifications to this, and there are also monetary ramifications, which is why they're not fully pulling it. So then on the same day, on April 16th, James then had his notes app to say, this is on his Twitter, accountability is something that I have spoken about a number of times in the past. In my most recent video, child, how many times you got to be accountable? Okay. I spoke about and took accountability for my part in conversations I had with a few individuals who told me that they were over the age of 18. Table that. because we're going to talk about this. As I said in that video, I can't show change overnight, but will over time. Since posting that video, many other people have come forward with a series of misleading stories and false allegations, which have been reported on by many people, creators, and news outlets. My legal team has begun taking action against those that have spread misinformation and or created completely fake stories, as this has gone too far. Lord, let's read the whole statement before we get into the legality of, these choice words. These stories have caused many of my long-term partners to receive considerable negative feedback, one of them being Morphe. Negative feedback. I've loved every moment working together and am beyond grateful for what we've created together. That being said, I reached out to them and we mutually agreed to wind down. Here we go with the wind down. He said, hello, we both need to make that check, honey. I have to pause myself, continue reading. Our James Charles Morphe collaboration, which is my only project with them. I'm continuing to take time away to learn, grow, and listen, and look forward to coming back one day in the future as a better version of myself. James, fire this attorney that allowed you to post this on the internet. That will never go away, even if you decide to delete said post, which as of right now, it's still up. Numerous reasons why you should fire this attorney. And don't hire me because, child, I don't take private clients because this is mess and this would raise my blood pressure. First and foremost, you wouldn't have to take so much accountability if you stopped doing foolishness. But on to this. In the first paragraph, when he said, my part, his part of the conversation, because a conversation is two people. We all know what a conversation means. I had with a few individuals who told me that they were over the age of 18. That is not a defense to the admission of the crime that you have committed. Sir, I'm just curious as to how the conversation with the attorney went. If he was like, hey, read this, approve this, I'm gonna post this, or if he posted and the attorney was like, mother F. Sir, this is an admission of guilt to having conversations with underage boys, which, trigger warning to this whole video, for those of you, I do deeply apologize, is disturbing, but also you can't take it back. Someone lying, allegedly lying, according to you, or misleading, or just withholding information as children do, because children don't have 2 cents, is not a defense to having conversations with said children. Oh, Jesus. The last sentence in the first paragraph saying, my legal team has begun taking actions against those that have spread misinformation. The people, he said 2 people, he admitted to, like, he had these conversations with them and that according to him, he was unaware of their age. Their parents can still press charges against you. If they have now turned 18, which I think one of them has, they can still press charges against you. It's not misinformation if you've admitted to it. Now, the other allegations, we are going to table that and talk about demonetization. So that was on the 16th. A few days later, mind you, this whole time YouTube didn't say nothing. They were like, oh, they quietly pulled him. He was supposed to host Instant Influencer, I think it's what it's called. Some YouTube game show thing for the children, child, I don't know. They pulled him as the host, didn't give a rhyme or reason why. And YouTube, what I've noticed, YouTube loves to just be in the corners when their mega creators do nonsense because they make the most money. In my opinion, it's because they make the most money off of these people. So it doesn't benefit them to just step in automatically. They kind of wait for the public pressure to come in. Case in point, Shane Dawson. So they temporarily demonetized him, temporarily, as in these accusations have come out. He's admitted to he said a few. So he admitted to a few of these accusations and they still were like, oh, we can't just ban him. We're just going to temporarily demonetize him. Because if there are no ads on his videos, YouTube also is losing money. YouTube is very slow to deplatform these mega creators. And by very slow, I mean they rarely do it. Shane Dawson, child, questionable is that, mess. There are words that apply to him that I can't say on here because then I will get demonetized for my video, and that's not going to work with my student loan repayment. So what I've learned in the past 8 months, YouTube is a wild HR-less place. They need an HR department to monitor these people, child, that have never worked in corporate America and have zero couth. Zero. Couthless. YouTube is a land of the couthless and the ruthless. In demonetizing James Charles, YouTube cited their YouTube policy. So, YouTube policies, this is an interesting layout. YouTube policies, they cited creator responsibility as the policy as to why they were pulling this. So this is their policy right here, protecting the YouTube community. YouTube is all about community. Remember that as YouTube creators, you should remain responsible both on and off the platform. If we see that the creators on and or off platform behavior harms our users, community, employees, or ecosystem, we may take action to protect the community. Some of these people be pushing it way far before YouTube takes any action. I mean, but that's none of my business right now. And let's go down a little bit. While these behaviors are rare, they can cause widespread harm to the YouTube community and potentially damage the trust among creators, users, and advertisers. They said, by the way, let me remind y'all, don't bite the hand that feeds you, which is who? The ad revenue. Severe violations that cause widespread harm to the community may have repercussions beyond standard enforcement actions. These restrictions may include YouTube originals and YouTube Spaces experiences. YouTube originals may be suspended, canceled, or removed, and you may lose access to YouTube pop-up spaces and virtual gatherings. What's that man's name? That blonde man. Logan Paul? I think he had his little movie pulled too, when he decided to be completely disrespectful and act a damn fool. Monetization, partner management, and promotional opportunities. Your channel may use the ability to serve ads, earn revenue, and potentially be removed from the YouTube partner program, including losing access to partner management and creator support. You may also be removed from YouTube select lineup. So this is for the mega YouTubers. Like, hey, check yourself before you wreck yourself, which clearly they need to have highlighted this a bit more. Again, HR for creators is a great idea. If you work at YouTube/Google headquarters and you need a very friendly attorney to come in and implement HR systems, I am here. Just saying. I have done employment law and have worked in tech for many years. Video recommendations. Your video may no longer be eligible to be recommended on YouTube and could lose benefits such as appearing on our homepage, shadow banning, trending tab, or in the watch next recommendations. Hey, these are fighting words. They're like, listen, we will ban you, we will shadow ban you, we will pull your stuff. What is interesting though, they take a long time. A lot of harm has already been caused before they actually come in and like, oh, fine, pull this man's stuff, child, pull it. I will give YouTube a smidge of credit in that as of today, TikTok and Snapchat have done nothing. As of the last time I checked, which I think I did my research yesterday, so Boo Boo is still on TikTok and Snapchat, which I find the most interesting because the acts, the ones that he's admitted to, we'll just talk about those, that he's admitted to occurred on TikTok and Snapchat. So you would think that they would be like, oh wait, illegal things are happening in our app. Like, we need to remove this. They're like, Anyways, next. Wild. All right. And last, let's go back to James' little statement and talk about these, what did he say? Legal action. Let's use his words. I'm not putting words in people's mouth. My legal team has begun taking action against those that spread information and or created completely fake stories as this has gone too far. So these potential lawsuits. So if James, which he clearly does, believes this is misinformation, what are the steps that he likely or is likely going to take? Cease and desist. Hey, take down that video. I don't like that. You said I talked to 10 boys. I only agreed to 2. Not to be petty. And if people are like, no, I don't believe you. I believe the victims, and say like, hey, X amount of people, here are the receipts, show the receipts. And James is like, this is false. This is defamation. This will be like the 4th time we're talking about potential defamation suits or an actual defamation suit if this happens. If you have learned anything, besides always have it in writing, always have a contract. Number 2, if you are going to sue somebody for defamation, a complete defense of defamation is the truth. So, sir, if you are going to sue these people for defamation, yet you have bold-faced in video format and in text format on Twitter, on YouTube, on multiple mediums, admitted to talking to a few, and yes, insert your excuse that you allegedly did not know the age according to you, which again is not a defense. Boo boo, you're gonna get laughed out of court. out of court, down the window, because that is not going to work. Also, it is a crime. And I'm not saying that he's doing this, but one could. A bold attorney could take this statement that you decided to put out on the interwebs and say, this is trying to intimidate my client who is a victim, my client who has suffered indiscriminate amounts of harm at the hands of Mr. Charles. Why, again, is this statement up is beyond me. Besides, sheer hubris at worst and complete stupidity at best. Complete stupidity. On the behalf of multiple people around this individual to be like, hey, boo, that's not it. That's not it. Sometimes silence is golden. Sometimes silence is golden. This statement is damning. On that note, let me know in the comments. I'm going to be very honest, as in like my opinion outside of my legal opinion as to this. YouTube has a way, and people have a way, which is interesting, of forgiving people that do very awful, damaging, outside of their intent. Because again, I think what's missing here is accountability and intent is irrelevant. What matters is the impact. If you punch me in my eye on purpose and my eye is black and blue, or if for some odd reason you accidentally elbowed me in my eye and my eye is black and blue, what is the impact? My gosh darn eye is still black and blue. It is irrelevant. But what I've noticed is YouTube has a way of letting certain people that look a certain way get away with lots of things. As in, Shane Dawson is slowly creeping back in. So I don't think this is the end of Mr. Charles. I do sincerely hope that he goes to therapy and actual accountability, boo, is what the victims that you have agreed, that you have talked to, that's all, we're going to talk about the facts that you've agreed to, is what they deem is accountability. What them and their parents deem is accountability. I have my personal ideas of, that, but that's irrelevant because I'm not the victim. What's relevant is how the victim feels and how they are going to cope with this. I mean, if it was my child, trust. I guess me and this very large glass of wine will have a nice evening. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen next in this legal saga? My guess is going to be whatever this legal team is that boosted him up to say all this is likely going to boost him up to send a few cease and desists, which are going to backfire on him, because if he sends them to any of the content creators on the YouTube, honey, it's like sharks with blood. They are going to make a video, post it, and expose him even more. So, my suggestion would be not to do that. But hey, I don't know, you get the legal counsel you pay for. On that note, I'll see you in the next video.